You may have heard recently in the news the Florida legislature is considering a proposal to repeal Florida's no-fault auto insurance system. That coverage is currently under your personal injury protection coverage. And what that coverage does is it pays up to $10,000 in medical bills if you're involved in an automobile accident. The problem with Florida's auto insurance system is, as you know, premiums seem to go up year after year. And Florida has one of the most expensive auto insurance premiums in the entire country. So the legislature is looking at ways to fix that. And one way is to get rid of our no-fault system and replace it with something called mandatory bodily injury liability coverage. Before we talk about that, let's talk about how our current system works. So if you're in an accident with someone, regardless of whose fault the accident is, your own insurance pays up to $10,000 in your medical expenses. PIP also pays up to 60% of lost wages. The problem with PIP for a lot of people is if you already have health insurance, you're paying for coverage that you don't need because your health insurance would pay for your medical bills. The other thing to consider is with lost wages, if you're retired, and many of our citizens in Florida are, they don't really need payment for lost wages. So if we got rid of PIP, what would we replace it with? Well, Florida is only one of 2 states in the entire country that doesn't have a requirement to have mandatory bodily injury liability coverage. That's the coverage you need if you cause an accident and someone is injured as a result of your negligence. So, for example, I have clients come into my office all the time who are seriously injured, and we do an investigation of the at-fault driver, and guess what? That person has 0 insurance coverage for their liability. And that's not illegal in Florida because liability coverage isn't required. So many people in our state are either uninsured or they're driving with no liability coverage, and if they cause an accident, they get off the hook because they don't have any insurance to pay the claim. You end up having to use your uninsured motorist coverage, if you have it, in order to pay for your damages and your injuries. So Florida going to a mandatory liability system just means that the responsible party would be legally required to have liability coverage, and they would have to pay out of their insurance if they cause damages and injuries to someone else.